All right. So I will go ahead and share my screen, and we can get the agenda going. Okay, so first up in the agenda is the status updates. Saad, do you want to go through this?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to pull up the spreadsheet or?
Yeah.
Okay. First up is CSI Volume Plugin. I have a design doc out that I'm going to send out. The plan for this is going to be a new volume plugin, similar to the Flex. The interesting bit here is going to be how Kubernetes is going to communicate with the volume plugin. The proposed plan I'm thinking of at the moment is a sidecar container along with a volume plugin that acts as a proxy. That sidecar container would drop a Unix domain socket onto the host machine through which Cubelet can communicate with the volume plugin. Then the more interesting challenge is how the master is going to be able to communicate with the volume plugin. Since these volume plugins are going to be third-party code, they shouldn't be running on the master. And if we use gRPC to communicate between the master and the plugins, then we have the whole discovery problem of how does the master figure out which instance of the volume plugin running on one of the host machines it should talk to fulfill the operation, and how do you secure that communication channel? So what the proposal is going to propose is something along the lines of creating a new attach object. So we're going to flip the script a little bit, and the master will basically indicate when it needs a particular CSI volume attached by creating an attach object, and then the one of the instances on the node of the volume plugin would be would basically would elect themselves as the leader and would monitor the API server for these new API objects. And once they see one of these API objects, they can react to it. And in that way, you don't have to worry about discovering or trying to secure that channel. More of this is going to be fleshed out when I send the doc, but I just wanted to put it out there, and then we're planning to discuss this at the face-to-face meeting as well.
So there's no plans to merge the design into one split.
Sorry, Brad, I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you repeat that?
There's no plan to design this or to merge this design in 1.8.
No, this is independent of 1.8 for now.
Okay. So we probably want to show this on that sheet, right?
Yep.
Oh yeah, we should probably add a new sheet for 1.9 work.
Yeah, so one of the things we're probably going to do for the next meeting is kick off planning for 1.9. And we can start brainstorming ideas for that in a document somewhere.
Okay,
right.
So the status for 1.8 is not, it's not started, it's not done. You probably have to move it out.
Yeah, I think what I want to do is go through this spreadsheet and kind of have an end of release status, and just to have closure for 1.8. So for long story short, for CSI, design in progress. Next up is capacity isolation, resource management. Jing, do you want to give a final update here for 1.8?
Yes. So 1.8 is still alpha. So, but the items we plan on 1.8 all finished, including quota, support for local ephemeral storage, limited range, and downward API. So together with 1.7, so we have a pretty good isolation mechanism available for local ephemeral storage. And we'll target beta on 1.9. And we continue to work some items, including to use kubectl to show local ephemeral storage like CPU and memory. Some items I think Nick is start working on.
All right, that sounds awesome. Do you have plans to update the documentation for 1.8?
So the documentation, yes, I think we need to. You mean the Kubernetes like IO documentation?
Yeah.
Yes, that's we should do.
Okay, so let's keep an eye on that, and thank you very much for all your hard work there.
No problem. Thank you. So we I think we need to change it to alpha. Still, like status is in 1.8. Yeah.
Secondary to the documentation, what about blog? We have a lot of features here, and I know that they don't always feel like blog attention.
Yes. I think blog is also a very good way to communicate with people about the feature. I will try to find some time to work on blog too for this feature. Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Local persistent storage support. Michelle, do you want to give an update?
Yeah, so for 1.8, we didn't have any major code deliverables, just a few fixes and more tests here and there. Most of 1.8 was spent working on prototyping and design for both the scheduler and binding integration, as well as support for block devices. So we have some design proposals out, and we can go over them. I put them on later in the agenda, so we can go over them then.
I mean, this is not done, not considered done.
I guess we didn't, it was just design mostly for 1.8, so I guess the design proposals are out now.
It's a weird feature because it's phased, right? So we did get one phase from before. Which phase are we saying that we haven't done before? Phase 2?
Sorry, Brad, I can't really hear you.
I'm sorry, my internet connection has just gone hectically. All right, this is a phase feature. We got phase 1 in as part of 1.7. The parts that we're talking about here is phase 2, correct?
Yeah, this is basically 1.7, we had the initial alpha phase, and then for 1.8, we worked on design for the next phase, but we haven't delivered any code yet for it.
We can still mark this done because it was just.
Sure, yeah.
No docs for this, correct?
Just design docs.
All right, so moving on to block storage. Erin?
So the design is close to being merged, I hope. Brad brought up one last comment yesterday, and Brad can elaborate on that. I'm kind of not understanding this piece, how it's any different than how we currently do file systems. So I'd like some input there. I tagged you on that, Michelle. Otherwise, I feel like that's to a point we should probably merge it. And if we have implementation details, we should take those into the PRs, because not merging this is blocking everything, including the merging of the API, which is blocking everything else. So,
correct?
No, but I also don't want to be I want to get this merged early. I guess we're kind of in a code freeze so that we can get it done. And I don't know, we're just in a weird spot where we're going to have to be in rebase hell, I guess, regardless, because everything depends on the API PR, which depends on the design PR being merged. So otherwise, we're just full steam ahead. I don't foresee any serious issues, unless, Brad, you want to talk about the use case you brought up yesterday.
We can do that. Let's parking lot that just so we can get through the sheet.
Okay. Sounds good. That's all, Sud.
Cool, thank you. So do you want to put a status update on that?
I think that we need to say this. We're going to wait to merge this in 1.9. They're not going to let us merge it this time right now. We're too late to get released.
So technically, we have until end of September for 1.8. Theoretically, we could still merge it, but that sounds good for now. And we can revisit it in 2 weeks.
Okay. I haven't seen success merging designs after code freeze.
Design docs should be independent of the code freeze, right?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, let's try. I'm curious to see if we're going.
Okay, cool. Enable containerization of mount dependencies. We should really break this into 2 pieces. One is mount propagation, which design and implementation were completed this quarter. And the second is enabling containerization of mount dependencies, which was punted to 1.9.
And if I can ask, when do we have CSI? Because this is going probably to be a better solution than internal volume plugins.
I'd like to drive really hard and fast on CSI. I'm hoping that at the face-to-face, we can come to a design that we agree on and start implementation, and that for 1.9, we can have an alpha version of CSI.
So do we still need containerized volume plugins? We will have the internal volume plugins for quite a long time still, but if somebody wants to run them in containers, perhaps you should run CSI.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's yeah, we can probably drop this requirement for now.
I'm not sure. I'm just asking.
Let's talk on this, because there was a big push for a long time to get end-to-end tests. And CSI or not, this is going to be a key piece of end-to-end tests. If we don't get this fixed, we're going to have problems with our end-to-end storage test for the next 2 years.
Yeah, and I mean, with CSI, these volume plugins will continue to exist until deprecated, and deprecation will be minimum of 1 year. So I could see that side as well.
So here's a little bit of a hang up on this side. Like we've had some trouble getting some of the code into Node and getting other attention and review on this. To be quite frank, we're dropping some of the urgency on our side because it's not as needed for product, but we still see the need for end-to-end tests. I was wondering or hoping that someone in Google who would maybe be working with the test might pick up and champion some of this.
It's hard to say at this point. Let's leave that for planning. So let's add the item to planning. We'll do prioritization and see if we can get resources on it.
Sam, sorry, I had a question. Like when the CSI plugins are like deployed, like how will they run it? Will they expect all the utilities to be available on the host, or will they work in containers? So
they would be containerized. So all the utilities should be part of the container image.
So wouldn't we need this piece to be ready, sort of like when we even do CSI?
The important part was mount propagation, and that's already there. The second part of this is actually containerizing the in-tree volume plugins that already exist, not for CSI. So as far as CSI is concerned, it has everything that it needs.
Okay.
It would be good to vet this well, though, in the code. I mean, it's, the farther along the features and the more tests you get, the more confident.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we can get resources on this, that would be awesome. But we could figure that out at our next meeting. Okay, moving along, CNCF testing and certification. Erin, do you want to give an end of quarter update for this?
Yes, sorry. So I'm working on creating some Helm charts to be able to do the testing. That's how the cross-cloud does their builds to be able to do it on the different platforms. And that would be for AWS and GC initially, because those are ones that are in the pipeline to augment persistent storage in those, is an initial phase of what we're doing, with the end goal eventually having, like a test harness that people can use to certify on there. So that's it. We don't have anything formal yet. I'm putting just together a plan and the charts and then going from there.
Okay, so we'll mark it as work in progress. That'll continue in the next quarter.
Yeah, I mean, this whole process is going to continue for quite some time.
Is there a roadmap someplace? So maybe, either this release or the next release, we can have some success on this? I mean, I know you guys are making progress, but I'd like to have something we can show on here. Be like, yeah, we got through phase 1.
We could. I mean, this is outside really a Cube deliverable, to be perfectly honest. This is specific to CNCF. I mean, we could certainly create a roadmap for that, but it's not anything that is dependent on a release. So it feels awkward to track it to that level at this meeting, at least.
Yep, that's fair.
Tracking it all in here then?
I'm at the mercy of the CNCF and, a bunch of other teams and providers as to what we can do. I mean, I can make goals, but it's not really like an effort that I fully own myself. And the CNCF is still trying to get their feet underneath them, in my opinion, as far as having governance and process. But I'm happy to provide updates.
Well, what I'm getting at is this sheet's here to track, the status of features towards a release. I'm not saying like CNCF and all this work isn't important, but if we want to actually track it towards a release or just understand it.
I don't think the reason why we did this is because the E2E tests we were tracking at a release level, and we're not doing that anymore, because we understand that it's going to be futile because we can't actually test the plugins within the current environment. Therefore, I mean, I can either provide updates, they aren't going to go to any sort of release, or we can just remove this altogether. I think those would be the two alternatives.
Well, we don't want to kill the E2E effort, right? Or is it dead? I mean, do you consider it?
No, it's dead. I mean, no one shows up at the meeting, and I'm not fully going to continue having my team solely do all the end-to-end tests when there's so many other things broken in the test environment that cannot be fixed in the way that it's set up now. It doesn't make sense to continue to invest in that effort. Okay,
so let's reflect that on this sheet by taking the CNCF part out of this and just make it end-to-end test. We don't have another end-to-end test.
The end-to-end test part is tracked, I think, in the next item, number 8.
Correct. Yep.
No testing. Okay. So can we kill Rule 7 then? Everybody okay with that?
So regarding the second item, the end-to-end testing, Arian's team did a huge effort to bring storage SIG up to par for making sure that we have enough end-to-end testing that we don't have regressions. It was filling in a lot of technical debt that we had. At this point, I think what we need to do is start enforcing for all new features that end-to-end tests are written along with the features. For a couple of the features that went in for this milestone, I've pinged the authors to add end-to-end tests. So for moving forward, I don't think we need I agree with Aaron, I don't think we need a crash team that's working solely on end-to-end tests. It should be the responsibility of every developer to ensure that there is tests added along with the code.
Correct. Yeah, this was just an independent effort to get it up. It should be part of it. You said it perfectly, Saad. That's exactly what we agreed to, and therefore don't continue on with that E2E SIG that we had on a weekly basis anymore.
That makes sense. And for the CNCF testing, sounds like we're blocked from their end, so we'll stop. Well, we'll see if we need to continue to track this for the next quarter or not. We can revisit that in the next meeting.
Perfect.
All right, I need to jump off in 5 minutes, but I'll see how much of this I can get through, and then Michelle will take over. So for the green stuff, we can skip. We'll go to number 10, support attach detach for RWO. Wamin, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you want to give a end of quarter update?
So the iSCSI and 5 channel, they're done. And there's a PR pending for the RBD. It's under review, and hopefully we can get it in 1.9. So iSCSI and 5 channel, they're already in 1.8. RBD is going to be 1.9.
Okay, sounds good. Next up is NFS wedging issue that we can mark as decided not to do, which we already did. Snapshots are in an external controller. Resizing volume support. So Hamad, do you want to give a final update here?
Yeah, snapshot is Thomas.
Oh, right.
Well, snapshot.
It's not done, I think. But I don't think we can mark it as done. Yeah.
We have the code merge. What's missing on marking it done?
So we work closely with Xin Yang and Huamin Thomas on this. And last week we refactored the controller a lot, and I think it's close to what we want to achieve. And next week I plan to work with like our workload team to test some like more realistic scenarios on Snapshot.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is that the features dropped, and now anything that we find from here on out is bugged.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The feature has merged, and the code and function, everything is there, and anything that we do from here on out is bugged.
Okay, yeah, it's merged to the external storage, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I consider this done, and that we need to do docs and stuff for the 180 release.
Oh, okay, sure.
Fix it too. Bug fixes.
Okay, so I mean, I think it sounds like we have a prototype of snapshots out. If we can mark it as done as a prototype, and then drive it forward into alpha or beta in the next quarters. So next up is the resize work. Hamad.
Yeah, sorry. So we did a large chunk of that work went in 1.8, the controller resize. So in 1.9, we want to target the file system resize, which would bring in support for resizing GC, AWS, such kind of volume types. It's like not huge code change, but it's like partly done, partly work in progress. So.
Cool, good work. And so the only outstanding items here should be documentation, release notes, and end-to-end test, right?
Yeah, there's an end-to-end test, and because we don't do GlusterFS end-to-end test right now, so it's like kind of that's the only one that we can resize. So we have so when we implement file system resizing, then we can do some realistic end-to-end tests. And we'll start.
Yeah, Hamad, I think there are like 2 or 3 cluster tests that are existing today, but they're not very comprehensive. It's just a basic mount.
Right.
Are they running as part of the E2E test, the cluster test?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Yeah, along with the test.
They're running on the GCI test suite.
Okay. All right. I'll create a ticket for it myself, and I have already created a ticket to add end-to-end test for some other one more feature. So yeah, I'll follow up.
All right, thanks for that update. I'm going to jump off this call. Unfortunately, I have a conflict today. And Michelle, could you take over?
Yep, sure thing.
All right, take care, everyone.
Okay, so that was resizing. What do we have next? This host path volume type. That is done. That was checked in. There's one outstanding bug for it, but the owner is working on it. Okay. Next we have, how do I get rid of this? Persistent volume source API refactoring. Let's see. I mean, you guys decided you don't need this for 1.8. And then, okay, let's move on. Next is exposed storage usage metrics.
Michelle, this one is done. The feature's in. Jing and I spoke about this yesterday that we should probably add another E2E test. So I'm going to do that.
Okay, awesome. Great. Okay, then we have the Rook and Nutanix volume plugins. I guess.
Yeah. This is Steve from Rook. We are doing a Rook Flex Volume plugin instead. So I closed that PR already and move forward with the Flex Volume.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, this is both from Nutanix. Same thing for Nutanix volume plugin. We are using a external volume controller for this storage controller.
Awesome. Let's see. And then the remaining 3 items, no, there are no owners on, so we didn't work for it. Okay. So that's everything on the this sheet. I guess for the next meeting, we'll start a new 1.9 sheet, and we can start adding in items to there for the next meeting.
Hey, real quick, on our 1.8 features, hopefully my microphone's better now, but on our 1.8 features, we need to make sure that we have our docs, right? There's a big push right now for docs. They're late if we don't have them. So anything that merged or needs changing, we need to have documented.
That's right.
Do we have a list of what items are not ready for docs right now? Or where is that being tracked?
I think right now all the
not.
docs are being tracked just from an email that the docs team sent to the SIG.
So yeah, I remember in the past Ehor had like a spreadsheet that kept track of all of the docs.
They still have it.
Yeah.
They had a spreadsheet with all features in the feature repo and links to docs.
I have pasted the link in the chat, the doc tracking thing.
Can you add it? Can you add the link to the agenda? Then everyone who has a feature delivered in 1.8, you can go and update that spreadsheet for the docs.
Oh, in the agenda? Okay.
Yeah, that way we can it'll be easy to find the link.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Okay. So let's move on to the agenda. Okay, PRs that need attention. What do we have here? Detach fix. Come on, do you want to say more about this? Huh?
But before we get off docs, when is the due date for docs? Do we know? Because I'm looking right now. There's a ton of them that are not completed by storage. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So not all the features in that doc are actually done. So it's like the doc that spreadsheet contains all the features we targeted, but a bunch of them are not done. So then they don't need to be documented.
Yeah, so then we should update that spreadsheet to say we don't need docs for the feature.
So I guess my question is, can we make sure that can someone volunteer so we have a name attached to someone to do that, as opposed to we all agree it's important and then maybe walk away and think someone else is doing it?
I'll do it. This is Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Oh.
Actually beat me to it.
All right. So PRs that need attention. Hamad, you have this detach fix.
Yeah. So all right. So unfortunately, I kind of need Saad for this. So it's basically we have some protection in place in attach detach controller which doesn't detaches a volume if pod is deleted for 6 minutes actually. And I have Jing is convinced, Jan is convinced, I'm convinced, and I have gone through the code flow several times with myself and with Jan, and we have walked through the protection that exists serves any purpose. Our conclusion is it doesn't help. So the plan is I have opened a PR to remove that check. So basically we need Saad to approve that PR, and I just wanted to have a word from him that okay, if there's
so I plan to talk with Saad about this once he comes back. So we already discussed quite in detail about this, and I think so we just want to make sure everyone agree on this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I just thought it's kind of it's like we don't achieve anything by blocking the detach operation, and it is basically affecting users a little bit, like because attach and detach together could take like 12 minutes for no good reason. Like if detach itself takes six minutes and 6 minutes plus change, and then the next operation will not start until that completes. So it's like an exponential backoff naturally increases the time, right? So it's like it seems to user that the volumes are not getting attached some good 10 to 12 minutes, which is not good. So that's the problem here. So it's not just 6 minutes, but the net effect of a volume attaching is much more than the 6 minutes, like more like 10 minutes or something thereabout.
Okay, great. So it sounds like Jing, you're going to talk with Saad about this. So hopefully we can come to a conclusion in the next few days. Okay.
Yes. So we already put kind of all the analysis in the PR, and I think it's quite clear now. And just need to talk through it. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. Next up is this Cubelet weird output.
Yes. Since 1.8.0 alpha, there's been some weird output seen on kubectl and kubelet binaries, and when you run those, so it's basically a conflict in protobuf definitions. So I've raised a PR which removes the conflicted vendor directories and fixed it. So as it involves the storage driver, so probably it was tagged with SIG storage. So I Saad is assigned as the reviewer, but like anyone could just take a look and please review it.
Okay. All right. I guess I'll go ahead and ping Saad to take a look.
Yeah, one thing I'm realizing is we need to make sure that Saad is not exactly quite such a central point for everything too. He is awesome and he is a superhero, but we need to make sure that we've got a lot of backups for Saad. I'm noticing that in other SIG that as when one maybe very senior person is sick or out of commission, or just maybe if they won the lottery, then suddenly we don't have enough we don't have enough other folks who have the same level of expertise or ability to jump in. Do you think I'm wrong here, or?
We can help to review that PR. So for the previous one, it's just Saad against that change. So we need to kind of make sure we kind of agree on. So for this one, we can.
Yeah, I think for the second one, it's a pretty small change. So I think Saad would be needed. I think Tim took an initial look, and anyone could review it.
We can all help. Yeah.
It's pretty large change for me. The diff looks pretty big. I don't know why.
It's mostly vendor changes. So it removes the vendor packages. That's it. So that's why the diff is large. But the code change is pretty small.
Cool.
All right. So I guess, Jing, are you able to take a look at that then?
Yes, I will try to do it.
Awesome. Okay. Any other PRs that anyone has?
Aaron, do you want to talk about the local storage thing now, or the block storage now, or do you want to maybe do a separate design call for it?
I don't know that we need a separate design call unless you feel like this is a total blocker. I think we could probably address it. Can you just talk about what you're proposing in your question? And I've already replied in the PR, but maybe Michelle or Aman or anyone on this call.
Sure, there's a lot of noise on that PR, so it's difficult to, go back and find discussions that we had. But at some point, there was talk about a block PV being able to convert to a file PV. If someone puts a file system, a partition and a file system on it, you could essentially mount a block PV just like a regular file PV. And I didn't find that requirement on the current design doc, and I'm not sure if we lost that, which is fine with me because I think it's a problem.
So yeah, I think what we ended up going with in the end is, block is only block and files only file system. You can't.
Okay, perfect. Cool. Okay, if that's how it is, then good.
Yeah, we decided it would be a two-step process regardless. So if you mount it as a block, and if someone else wants to go do something with it, that is. But we covered that in great lengths, I think, in the second to last design review call. That was the best way to handle it because it became too complicated. That's why we also removed that use case that had trying to combine the two in there because we realized it wasn't possible from a binding perspective.
Okay, cool. I have no other issue with it then. But maybe we want to do it one final call to make sure that it's, that everybody's cool, and then we merge it.
I yield to Michelle since she's the one who is responsible for merging it. If she feels like we need a call, I'm happy to have that. It's been pretty well reviewed. I think there are 80 some commits, and I can barely open the PR anymore because it's 483 nits on the conversation.
Yeah, I think in terms of the design PR, it's pretty close. I think there's just like one or two small things left, but the basic idea I'm okay with at this point.
And I think I've addressed all your comments. It's just, yeah. I mean, Brad, if you think that's the most expedited way that we can get it merged, I'm happy to do that. But I guess that's Michelle's we're also asking for as well.
Well, I guess the purpose of me saying for a call is so we have like a deadline that we get everything addressed to make sure it's all cleaned up by. And then
I have every open comment addressed right now. So.
Okay, then we'll just wait on Michelle's LGTM on it, and then we'll consider it good. I think she had the last comments.
Okay, yeah. I'll take one final pass today.
So Michelle, are you going to be on vacation soon or something, or?
Yeah.
So how's that going to affect, your deadline here? And then also, is that getting merged for 1.8 is the goal, or is this just going to get merged?
No, 1.9.
Okay, for 1.9. So if this gets merged and then there's a side effect in head, who can be there for that week? Or is it, do we want to think about merging after you come back?
We're just talking about the design PR at this point.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, there shouldn't, if we mess up something in head from the design PR, we have bigger problems.
Yeah, I get you. I just wanted to make sure that your vacation wasn't going to impact this.
No, it should be fine.
That's a good point, though. But we have to get it merged so we can start getting the other pieces merged. That's.
No. That makes sense. I mean, you can tell my theme lately has been that making sure we're not bottlenecked on certain folks, and that we're all aware of time off and stuff. It's had some impact in some other SIGs, but it sounds like things are going great here. So I'm sorry to take your time.
Okay, awesome. If no one else has PRs, we can move on to design reviews. So me and Diraj put out a bunch of design reviews related to local storage. There's 3 currently out. The first one is just the design that we did for 1.7 alpha. I had it all in a Google Doc. I finally found some time to put it into a PR and merge it. So please take a look at that. I think everything in there should not be a surprise. But if you do find any potential problems to bring up, it would be a good time to bring it up now so that we can plan on any redesign or bug fixes or something for 1.9. Did someone have something to say about this?
On local storage, when do we plan to go beta with that?
I feel comfortable going to beta once the basic functionality works. And right now it's not really the case because of the scheduling issues. But I think once the scheduling stuff is in, then we can consider moving it to beta.
Okay, and we'll get the scheduling stuff in for 1.8, so we could potentially be looking at 1.9 for beta.
The plan is for the scheduling work to get in 1.9. So potentially, we're looking maybe 1.10 for beta.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the first design review. The second one is regarding the local storage work that we need to do to support raw block devices. There's kind of 2 parts to that. First is the volume plugin changes to support the new volume mode block. I think those changes are not really complex. There shouldn't really be much in the design for that. The more interesting part is in the local storage provisioner, static provisioner to support block. The provisioner does discovery of block devices and it also does cleanup of block devices. So we're proposing some interesting methods for the cleanup of block devices. So please take a look at the document and provide some feedback there. That's also work slated for 1.9. And then the third item is the binding and scheduling integration work, the volume topology scheduling. This is a huge change to RPV controller flow and also the scheduler flow. And so this needs careful attention. So please take a look at that as well. All right. Are there any other design reviews that people want to talk about? Okay. Let's move on to process improvements.
Yeah, hi, this is Tushar from VMware, and this is more like a plea for help from the community because there are a few things we are observing, and I'm just curious whether we are alone in this, who is facing this problem. And so my question is very straightforward: that can the process of contributing fixes to Kubernetes be made more agile? And here is the problem, right? Currently what we see is that existing so let's say I have a fix that I want to get into 1.6. I'm sure you are all aware, but I'll still break it down. So we post a PR for review. Review gets done, gets merged to master. Then we do a cherry pick request, and then cherry pick gets completed. That is the end goal here, right? So what we see right now is that every stage pretty much takes 5 to 8 days, and and we have been contributing to Kubernetes for a year now. And I have two specific examples. So we have a vSphere cloud provider refactoring. We pretty much rewrote the whole thing. It was internally completely reviewed. We started a request on July 18th. It got merged on August 9th, which is still significant time, 20 plus days. We have a cherry pick request that is ongoing, which we started on July 20th. It is still going on. And we have shipments from everybody, and it is failing because of some test infrastructure instability. And my intention here is to figure out what we can do here. And my last point here is that why should we care about this? First of all, I feel it is SIG neutral. It is not just SIG storage problem. It is organizational neutral. It is not VMware, Red Hat, Google, Portworx, or Diamante problem. It affects customers because even if we ask customers to use a stable release of Kubernetes, we need to figure out a quicker way to give them fixes. And my last comment is that I wonder that even if we move to CSI or out of 3 cloud providers, it still won't solve the problem because we still have to support older releases of Kubernetes.
So can I address this, or if anyone else wants to address this?
I just wanted to say that we need more people looking into E2E test flakes and failures. That will definitely speed up with things. But we have, so that's what I want to add on that.
So I'm sorry, what is the name of the person from VMware? I didn't quite catch it.
I'm Tushar Thule.
Yeah, Tushar. So you're kind of preaching to the choir. I think we all agree. There is a bunch of efforts going on in Kubernetes, and none of them are happening quite as fast as I think as we want to address this issue. The first one is, of course, you are going to hear it and you already anticipated it and you said it wasn't sufficient, which is CSI or even Flex. If you want to start using Flex today, I know that there are some customers and users that, being able to launch fixes underneath your own control and in your own release schedule and doing less in core is one way out of this predicament. You can have your fate in your own hands, and you can, put in fixes as soon as you're ready and get them in production. This is, it's obvious, we can't do everything inside one big code base. It's a monolith. GitHub isn't set up for it. Our development tests aren't set up for it. And you end up with a bottleneck of reviewers, like you just said. My first question is, are these bugs that you're hitting in core Kubernetes, or are they in the drivers that you're working with, which must be the most frustrating?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked. So basically, I have one specific example. So basically, we found an issue, a regression introduced in vSphere Cloud Provider because there was a fix that got in for Azure. And the lesson we learned from that, and that is actually pretty much my team is currently working on, is that we want to have sufficient tests to avoid regression from other components who inadvertently might break our code. So we are working on test infrastructure. But to answer your question, the fixes that we ran into, so we found a customer problem, and we found that regression was caused by not by us, but something else inside Kubernetes.
Yes. So I'm sorry. So you kind of answered it. Is this it's a bug in the special driver, or is this a bug in the Kubernetes stack, or is this a bug just in some other part of Kubernetes outside of SIG storage in and of itself?
So the issue we found was in volume-related code inside Kubernetes, not in.
Okay.
So it is, not specific to SIG storage.
And I think Aaron has been sort of leading the charge here. We definitely, and if you went to the leadership summit that was a few months back, there is widespread agreement among Kubernetes developers in general that there needs to be larger investment and more development in making the system more stable and being able to catch bugs both before they're checked in or when they are checked in. I guess I have two sort of questions. One of them is getting bug fixes and patch releases doesn't seem to take that long from my takeaway. The fact that you're saying it takes over a month or so, is the problem that you're not able to get someone's attention that it's a bug, or is that you can't get someone's attention to review it?
Yeah, so I mean, I can share some examples offline, but my general impression is that we need to get help from the community to get approval, or to review the change. So that is the stage that takes pretty long, more than a week, pretty much every single time.
Yeah, I would say that's true, and I would also say that that's got to do with the fact that right now that we're bottlenecked right now on experienced folks who can do these reviews, and that's a little bit of having more and more companies, and not companies, more and more contributors being able to volunteer the time to not just fix the reviews or the functionality that's on their area, but just to be experienced across the whole area. And on top of that, I really do feel that once we get CSI done, it's not so much that the plugins will be bug fixes that are easier. It reduces the load on a lot of the people reviewing code overall, because suddenly the amount of code landscape and the amount of code that we are responsible for in the storage SIG goes down dramatically. We can actually focus more on the core than on all of the drivers. But on top of that, it would be interesting to know why that bug happened and then how we can prevent it from happening in the future with testing at the same time. So I feel like there's two things going on here. One of them is, how do we make sure, was this a bug that was affecting other folks or just the VMware environment?
Yeah, so I mean, Michael, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into just this one particular instance.
Yeah.
So I understand that. We took a lesson from that, okay, we want to add more tests for vSphere cloud provider. We want to figure out, and this is something I will follow up, that, can we donate something to CNCF so that vSphere cloud provider test will run when somebody
I'm not
checks
sure.
the test.
Actually, you know what? Maybe we should take this offline and talk about it, because I think there's a lot of things that you can do. But also, I don't know if CNCF is the way to go as much as like what we're just doing in Kubernetes overall. There's a lot of efforts underway right now to try to accelerate everything from how long it takes to get a bug fix in and to grow more reviewers and all of this. I think your frustration is one that is shared by everybody. Even in I think Red Hat and Google. I think that we want more velocity in this area. And I can tell you, even in these, I use those two groups because they've been contributing and have a lot of resources for a while. But even those two groups, there have been calls for. I've had people from Red Hat, very senior people go, we need reviewers for this feature. We have a bug, and this is not something that is is just being hit by like maybe your organization or other organizations. This is a widespread Kubernetes problem, and we if you want to talk about what we're doing now and then brainstorm on more ideas or do it more widely, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll take it offline. I just want to clarify one thing. So sure. I'm not frustrated, by the way.
I am sometimes. So I think it's okay.
Yeah, I'm. This group has been very supportive, and in the past we have asked that, how can we contribute as reviewers? And as I mentioned, whatever tests we are going to write, we are going to contribute back to the community, and we have done that in the past. So we'll continue to do that. Yeah. I'll reach out to you offline.
Yeah, let me say, I don't want to be dismissive. I think everything you're saying is something that everyone is feeling. And, I see Eric, are you on the line? Eric Curtis?
Oh, I'm here, and I'm sitting here. Am I going to write Michael a message and be like, I know you're talking about me when you say Red Hatter's begging for a review?
Oh, actually, it wasn't just you. There have been others. But, I just, I want to... Can you, comment on what I'm saying? I'm kind of curious for your perspective on this too. Am I in line with your view of things? Because I know you've been doing this for a while, longer than I have.
Not much longer at this point, but no, you absolutely hit on them. It's definitely a systemic issue. There's definitely some places that are better or worse than others. Attention of those who can make a difference on occasion. Your SIG leads should always be somebody who you should be able to reach out to if you're really, really stuck. But it's definitely a broad problem, one that I know the architecture review and the steering committee are both going to continue talking about in the future. I wish I had an answer, but review bandwidth is in short supply all across.
One thing I urge everyone here to do until we have enough processes in order, because I don't think we really do. Like, one thing that I bemoan is that we don't really have a great system now to analyze all of the issues that we see in GitHub and say, oh wait, these are the top 5 that need to be addressed right now. It still is a little bit word of mouth. And unfortunately, if that's how it is, I don't mind, at least myself, depending on word of mouth. So, kind of to everyone in the group, in the past, if you see something, especially in a release that has been released already, that you feel, that's live to customers, that is a bug that you think is highly impactful or even moderately impactful, go to the list, reach out, feel free to reach out to, me, Jesse, Saad, at least on Google, and say, how do we draw attention to this? And, the real answer is, it might be, well, guess what? It's not as big as the other ones we're reviewing right now. Or the answer may be, oh man, we do need to jump on this. 21 days is a long time to wait for a review for something that is affecting users. But, escalating the communication is something that I think we should encourage at this point until we have better systems in place.
I agree. Sounds good.
And by the way, thank you for bringing this up, because I think we need to keep bringing up this signal. Erin's done some great work, and I don't want to give it all to Erin, but I think she's been spearheading it. But at the same time, this is not going away, and we do need to address it.
And it's kind of had less involvement, to be perfectly honest, Michael. I mean, we've had less community members be interested in that, and it's been pushed more to the PR level, and maybe it's something we need to readdress as far as a formalized process of all these things beyond just merging PRs. So yeah, I appreciate you speaking up and voicing your concern. I think that's important to keep this SIG healthy, is that we're not brooding about it and not contributing. So
this SIG for me has been wonderful in that we're actually trying to tackle these things. Tushar, one thing that would be really helpful is looking at the areas right now that you feel where things are falling through the cracks, especially in verification, and sending that to the list, and let's start trying to tackle this again. We had a whole bunch of these in 1.3 and 1.4. I think we tackled them. I keep forgetting that Erin's not magic, because she's so, been able to make so many magical things happen. But if we have other specifics, I mean, that's really the problem, that we don't always know where these specific issues are. And once we have a list of what to tackle, this SIG has been really good at jumping on them. So please, give us the benefits of what you're seeing. Because, maybe in the Google GCP environment, we don't see quite as many of them as you do.
Yeah, sounds good. So by next SIG, I'll share a document offline with this SIG. What we are seeing, and we are based, as I mentioned, we are going to write tests to address these. We'll love to get feedback.
Yeah, and it's not just about saying, oh, go write some tests. It's about raising the awareness and incorporating them in the framework that we've got.
Yes, I agree.
Sweet. Thank you so much for bringing this up. And then lastly, I do think that we need to maybe. I'm kind of curious if the idea of a kind of a reviewer boot camp would be useful, a way to sort of scale out Saad and Brad and some of the people who, and Jing, who really, really, I know there's other people like Jan's, I don't even have the full list anymore, but maybe having them come up with the areas of knowledge that they think are really important for people to understand, and maybe at the next face-to-face, getting everyone together and kind of giving an intro to this, and then maybe seeing if there are people who want to start reviewing more actively as a way to try to grow more reviewers over time. Anyway, I have to go, but it's just a thought, and maybe we can talk more about it in the next meeting.
Okay, awesome. So, well, I guess we can follow up on that through email discussions.
Yeah. I gotta go. Thanks, everybody.
All right. So the last item we have on the agenda is our face-to-face. The dates are confirmed for October 10th and 11th. Location is not, exact location is not quite confirmed yet, but it's most likely going to be in Sunnyvale. I think, Brad, you started a sign-up sheet with topics. So if you could link that sheet here, that'd be great. And everyone who wants to attend, please add your name to the sheet and also suggest topics.
For those of us who can't make it, will it be broadcast even as a silent listener?
Yeah, I guess we'll try to set up probably Zoom, either Zoom or Hangouts for it. So if you cannot attend in person, then yeah, we'll try to have a remote option for you as well. But also
That'd be
still
great.
name.
I'm based in New York. I can't get out that week.
Okay. Yeah, I would still add your name to the list. I think the list is currently split up between in-person and remote. So add your name to the remote list. Okay. And I think, yep, that is.
Could you put a link to that list right there?
Yeah, I think Brad.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. All right. Any other topics that anyone wants to quickly go through? We're slightly over. All right. Okay, so that's it for the meeting. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.